Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about Animal Adventures. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about my plans for Animal Adventures, running it as a short campaign at my local FLGS for whatever players show up to fill the seats, right? So I'm planning to run this in a different structure than my normal games, right? So basically, I recently acquired a game that runs on the 5e rules, and it's put out by SFG. And I got the starter set for Animal Adventures, and it is It was $40. It was worth every penny, and the starter box has the 5e rules summarized in it, and it does a really fantastic job of summarizing 5th edition rules. This is not a joke. In 8 pages. In 8 pages, you have everything you need to run a Dungeons and Dragons 5e replica. Okay, so and basically, what's the twist, right? It's D&D, so it is not a Dungeons and Dragons official game. It is a 5e game. They literally can't put, and actually the game, I don't think it actually says. I think it says compatible with the world's first tabletop role-playing game. So a lot of people are talking about 5e in are talking about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition in a lot of different ways. Some of them just say 5e. There's no copyright on 5e. You know, if you say 5e, you could be talking about Shadowrun game, about Shadowrun 5th edition. You're not, but you could be, right? So you can't copyright 5e. So you could say 5e, and Dungeons and Dragons is so powerful. Nobody asks which 5e. Right? That's, again, that tells you where the level Dungeons and Dragons plays at, right? So, because if you say 5e, nobody says, "Are you talking Shadowrun?" They do not ask that, right? You could be, but you're not, right? So basically, this is a 5e game, right? And what it is it has 8 amazing miniatures in it, and the miniatures are Dungeons and Dragons characters: rogue, fighter, wizard. The classic 4, wizard, cleric, rogue, fighter, right? And basically a few other classes, but they're dogs and cats. It's pretty amazing. And one of the minis has the dog holding its sword in its mouth, right? And they're all on all 4s, right? So it's literally you play a cat or a dog, and you just play D&D, right? You play a D&D 5e replica, right? So the reason why I'm doing this is I absolutely fell in love with the minis, and the book is so simple and so raw and so ready to be run, right? That I'm like, oh, I could do a million things with this, right? So my plan is to go to my FLGS, plant literally, an 8.5 by 11, and saying I'm running this Saturday night one shot. This Saturday night, one shot, 7 to 9 p.m. First come, first serve. I got 5 seats, right? And whoever shows up, and I might get 1 person, I might get 0 people, I might get 7 people. If 7 people show, 5 are playing, and 2 I'm going to say I'm very, very sorry, bye, right? So, and I'm going to make it clear on the thing, first come, first serve. So, and the other thing is, I know I can do this. I am going to talk to the FLGS. But I know I can do this because I bought it there, right? And they encourage that. They want that because they're like, oh, yeah, you want to run this game because somebody else might buy a copy. Ooh, let's do it, right? So I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. So basically, I'm very excited about this. I think that now one of the things I think it's going to do well, and the reason why is people love 5e, right? And people love pets. People just love cats and dogs, right? And the miniatures are incredibly winsome, right? And so I'm really excited about this because I think I can play with a new group of players, right? Because I'm not sure this would be a winner at my regular table, right? No one at my regular table has ever said, "Hey, I'd really love to play a cat-dog game," right? But I think there are people out there who have pets that absolutely love pets, and I think I can make this a really special, unique experience. And so I'm very excited about this. I think this is I think drawing people to this game, I think it's gonna be a strong draw. I think people love cats and dogs, and the love for cats and dogs is only going up. So so I think this is going to work, but I am curious if anybody has any advice, right? So if I'm running a Dungeons and Dragons 5e replica, right, with cats and dogs, what are some ideas you would put into that game, right? Now I will give you real quick my intended structure. So my intended structure is to say that essentially there is a fantasy realm exactly like Faerun, and in that realm there are basically the monster manual doesn't exist, right? All that live there are animals, okay? And the bad guys are bats, rats, and otters, right? So land, air, land, and sea, right? Air, bats; land, rats; sea, otters, right? And those creatures, those three specific species, they all live in in what I call the barrens, okay? And then all other animal species live in the glade, right? Which is a very sunny, and by the way, the barrens, of course, are dark and cloud covered, and not much grows there, right? It's kind of like the Skeletor land, Skeletor's like Badlands, you know what I mean? And then the glade is a beautiful, shining, butterfly-filled world, or section of the world. And there, all the other species live, except the cats and the dogs that are brought into the game are portaled into that world, right? And then they're treated as heroes by all the other species. All the other species, other than bat, rat, and otter, live in the glade, and they're essentially, they treat as champions and heroes all dogs and cats, which are incredibly rare, right? And are treated like champions and leaders, right? Now, why are they treated like champions and leaders? Well, they arrive through portals, and they're essentially brought into that world, right? And they are a callback to a millennia ago when cats and dogs ruled, but that's not the case now, right? In fact, cats and dogs are incredibly rare, and they're actually not native to that world. There are none of them on that world, and all the cats and dogs from that world come in through a portal. Now, what is that portal? That's our world, right? And essentially, rescues that are close to the point of death are portaled in from our world into this animal world, which I call Marvaern, Marvaern, right? And so they're portaled in, and they come in with all these traditional D&D, with magical weapons, with spells, with class, and with all the abilities that go with those classes, and they're heroes right out of the gate, right? Because they have all these special skills and abilities. And when these super old rescues who are about to die are put through portals on our world, they are brought through the portal and reset to their youth, right? So not as puppies, but at 3 years old, or essentially 21 years old in Earth years, right? And so they come in and they're portaled in, right? And so then so the people who play in this game are going to get to play as Dungeons and Dragons hero characters, but there's also going to be this second part of the game where they'll be learning about the mystery of how they got there, who sent them there, how do these portals exist between Earth and Marvaern, and why are rescues who are about to die just from old age, why are the portals set up to refresh them and allow them to live in this fantasy world, right? So that's my current structure. I think that's a good structure. Well, what do you think? Do you have a better idea on how this would go? By the way, the book setting is pretty. The book setting doesn't give any explanation for why cats and dogs are in this world, and also they fight goblins, which I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Why would cats and dogs fight goblins? Why would there be goblins in a world populated by sentient cats and dogs, right? So that didn't make any sense to me, so I just chucked it. And I think the generic setting of Animal Adventures is very. It doesn't make sense to me. Right? It just doesn't make sense. That's my take. All right, so I'm kind of building mine from scratch. I'd love to hear your take though. What do you think? How could I do this? Right? What's a winsome way to make this work? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.